I'd like to tell you a story. Oh. Sit down, sit down.
Sit down.
A certain man had 2 sons. And one day the younger of these sons said to his father, "Give me my share of your estate now." So his father divided his wealth between his 2 sons. And a few days later, this younger son set off for a distant land. And there he squandered all the money he had on riotous living. Now, not long after this, a great famine swept over the land, and the boy began to starve. He persuaded a farmer to hire him to feed his pigs, but he was so hungry that even the husks he was feeding the swine began to look good to him. And still, nobody gave him anything. Finally, the boy came to his senses. At home, even my father's servants have enough food, and to spare. And here I am starving to death. I will go home and ask my father to hire me as one of his servants. And so, he set off. Now he was still some distance from his home when his father saw him coming. And he was so filled with compassion that he ran towards his son and embraced him and kissed him. The boy said, "Father, I have sinned against heaven and you. I am not worthy to be called your son." But his father called for the servants and said, "Bring me the finest robe in the house and put it on him. Put rings on his hands and shoes on his feet. Kill the fatted calf. We must celebrate with a feast." My son was dead and is alive again. Now, the older brother, at this time, was working in the fields. And as he came back to the house, he heard the noise of music and dancing. He called for one of the servants and asked what was happening. And he was told. At this, the older brother became very angry, and he refused to go into the house. The father came out, tried to plead with him, but he wouldn't listen. "I have worked for you all this time, all these years, and never once have I disobeyed you. And in all that time, you've never even given me so much as a goat so that I could have a feast with my friends. My younger brother comes back, having spent all your money on harlots, and for him you kill the fatted calf. Please," said the father. "Please, try to understand. You are always with me. Everything I have is yours. But it is right to celebrate. Your brother was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found."
Hello and welcome to the Israelites 13 channel. Tonight is part 3 of Lucifer, the son of the morning, the Lucifer Deception. And we are going to delve into the prodigal son and some of the parables as Jesus spoke. but we're going beyond the Judeo-Christian rabbinic mind prison, the universalized meaning that they give to the masses. And we're going to do a deep dive into the esoteric meaning of these parables Jesus spoke of. At the same time, we're going to dig deep into this name Lucifer. Again, like I said, this is going to be a long and controversial series, but I am going to use many sources of hidden text, biblical text, apocryphal text, secular text, and we're going to decipher what this name actually means and who Lucifer actually was. So that said, let's get started. We're going to go to the Roman Empire, to a gentleman named Catullus, a prominent Roman poet from the first century. And we're going to delve into some of his writings. In Ovid's writings, specifically in his epic poem Metamorphosis, Lucifer is a figure associated with the morning star, which refers to the planet Venus when it appears in the sky before sunrise. He is often personified as a male figure bringing light to the world and heralding the dawn. Okay, so a little misleading, but as we found in the secret societies, Venus is the actual feminine, and she is the evening star. And the actual son of the morning, or the morning star, hidden away in the secret societies, is Jupiter. Jupiter Optimus Maximus Heliopolitanus, as we've said in previous shows. So continuing, in the context of Catullus' writings, Lucifer refers to the planet Venus as the morning star, not the devil. Remember, the morning star is both. It is the actual planet Jupiter in the day, the rising sun, and then Venus, which would be the evening star. So it says Lucifer means light bringer in Latin and was the Roman name for the morning star. Catullus, a Roman poet, used the related term noctifer, or night bringer, to refer to the planet Venus in its evening aspect. Bingo. This is nothing but a title, and it refers to the night bringer, just as Lucifer was the bringer or the light bearer of the day of the rising sun. So continuing, it says, Catullus lived and wrote during the end of the Roman Republic, roughly between 62 and 54 BC. The association of the name Lucifer with the devil came much later. It arose primarily from a Latin translation of the Bible, the Vulgate, in the 4th century AD, where the Latin word Lucifer, meaning morning star or light bringer, was used to translate a Hebrew term. So let's go to the next slide. The earliest appearance of Lucifer. The Latin term Lucifer was used in Greco-Roman civilization, but its meaning was different from the modern association with the devil. In fact, it's not a name that appears in any original Hebrew and Greek text of the Bible. Instead, it originated as a Latin word meaning light bearer or morning star, and was primarily used in the context of astronomy, referring to the planet Jupiter or Venus when it appears before the dawn. In mythology, sometimes personified as a figure associated with the dawn and identified as a son of Aurora, the dawn. Ovid, in his Metamorphosis, described Lucifer as the last star to leave the heavens at dawn, signaling the sun's arrival. Saint Jerome was a key figure in the shift of Lucifer towards its modern connotation. So here we have the church fathers making a total erroneous connection or a mistranslation of the word itself as a title. He translated the Hebrew word Hallel, meaning shining one or morning star, in Isaiah 14:12 of the Old Testament into the Latin Lucifer in his Vulgate translation of the Bible. This verse described the downfall of the king of Babylon. I have to stop here. So if we go to this word Hallel, this is a very, very interesting title right here, this Hallel, and somehow was translated into this. if you go through, and we're going to delve into the Babylonian king line list, and we're going to find out who this Hillel actually is and see if there's a connection between the title Lucifer and this supposed king Hillel of Babylon, who was referred to as Hillel ben Shakar, shining one, son of the morning. Over time, this passage came to be interpreted as an allegory for the fall of Satan from heaven, leading to the association of Lucifer with the devil in Christian theology. Well, right off the bat, one has to ask themselves, who is Hillel ben Shakar, and how do you attach a supposed king of Babylon, whether this is allegory or some type of metaphor, I cannot say, but to me, if we trace this down, this Hillel ben Shakar, I think we're going to unravel exactly what the translators did in the early church fathers to hide who this Lucifer actually was. So if you notice right here, it tells you, let me go over this again. It says, over time, the passage came to be interpreted as an allegory for the fall of Satan from heaven. Well, one would have to ask yourself, if you go through the Bible, Satan's name is in the New Testament and the Old Testament. Why in this one verse in the King James in Isaiah 14:12 did they choose to leave this word Lucifer and then attach it to this name, Hillel ben Shakar, and then somehow attach it to this name, Satan? Why not just translate Lucifer into Satan, period, if that's who they're speaking of? So just asking questions, putting the thought out there. So let's go to the next slide. The earliest appearance of Lucifer. Key church fathers in their contributions. Tertullian. Tertullian interpreted Isaiah 14:14, I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High, as words spoken by the devil. We have Origen of Alexandria. He interpreted the Old Testament passage, including Isaiah 14:12 through 15, which mentions Hillel, translated as the shining one or morning star, as referred to the devil's manifestations. Some believe Origen was the first to use Lucifer as a proper name for the devil. So right off the bat, this is a false correlation and a mistranslation of the word. And in my opinion, you only have two choices here. They either did this on purpose or out of ignorance. We go to Jerome himself. Says Jerome's Latin Vulgate translated the Hebrew word Hillel in Isaiah 14:12 as Lucifer, which means light bearer, morning star in Latin. This translation further strengthened the association, although Jerome acknowledged that Lucifer was not a direct translation of the Hebrew. And if you read some of his writings, he admits that there was no correlation between the two, but he doesn't give the reason why. And in my opinion, I'm only theorizing they're hiding something, like always. So that said, let's go to Augustine of Hippo. Augustine's work, The City of God, helped to widely spread the association of Lucifer with Satan as the source of evil through pride. Important notes. The Hebrew word Hillel in Isaiah 14:12 originally referred to the king of Babylon and his prideful fall. The Latin term Lucifer itself means light bringer and was not initially associated with the devil, but with the morning star. And they always use Venus. But like I said, if you go into the secret societies, you have an esoteric and an exoteric meaning of these verses. When you're reading the Bible, it is in levels. You have an esoteric, which is only for a small set or group of men with specialized information that's only disseminated amongst themselves. And you have the exoteric, which, in their words, not mine, are for the people, the low caste, intellectually low caste people, and they're given a certain understanding of what the Bible is, and that's the dogma they're taught, and we have hit that wall, and the same exact theological understanding or meanings or definitions of these verses are disseminated to the masses, and this is what the understanding of the Bible has been, and this is how they control the masses through the actual dissemination of this information. And they're the ones, like I said, the translators are the ones that give you the actual meaning or meanings of these verses through the church. And for centuries now, our people have literally used those same meanings and interpretations given to you by the lying pen of the scribe or the rabbis of the rabbinic mind prison. Some scholars and theologians, including Martin Luther and John Calvin, rejected this interpretation, arguing that Isaiah 14 clearly refers to the king of Babylon. So Martin Luther and Calvin, they got that part right, but the king of Babylon, they never tell you who's the king of Babylon they're speaking of. Is it Hillel ben Shakar? And we're going to find out in the next couple slides. So that said, so we have Gaius Valerius Catullus, born in 84 BC in Verona, Italy. And let's hear what he has to say about this name Lucifer. In the context of Catullus's poetry, particularly in Carmen 62, the name Noctifer is used as an epithet for the evening star, which is also known as Hesperus or Vesper, which is another saying of Eve. That's what it means. While Catullus did not use Lucifer to refer to a specific entity like the devil, the Latin word Lucifer, meaning light bringer or morning star, existed during his time. In fact, related terms appear in his works. For instance, he uses Noctifer, meaning night bringer. In Catullus 62:8, this shows that Catullus was familiar with and used similar Latin constructions related to bringing light or night in a descriptive sense, not as a proper name or names for spiritual beings. The association between the king of Babylon in Isaiah 14:12 and Hillel ben Shakar, they tell you, well, that's where they got the name Lucifer from, Hillel. But then they make the connection that, oh, it was a king of Babylon named Hillel ben Shakar. So is this true? So let's delve into this. It says, the original Hebrew of Isaiah 14:12, the word translated as Lucifer in some versions is Hillel ben Shakar, which literally means shining one, son of the morning or morning star. The term Lucifer itself is a Latin word meaning light bringer or morning star, according to Bible commentaries, and was used in the Latin Vulgate translation of the Bible. The King James Version, among others, adopted this Latin term, while other translations opt for morning star or day star. Isaiah 14:12, often interpreted as referring to the king of Babylon, uses the imagery of a fallen morning star or day star to describe his downfall. This verse is part of a larger prophecy about the fall of Babylon, and while it's commonly associated with the king, some interpretations extend it to a symbolic representation of Satan's fall from heaven. And here we have the lying pen of the scribe, of the rabbinic mind prison, the rabbis who have given you this false interpretation of Satan, attaching it to a king of Babylon. But it's some type of allegory or metaphor, which absolutely makes no sense whatsoever. So we are going to dig in to the actual Babylonian king line list, and we're going to go to the first dynasty. The native name for this dynasty was simply Dynasty of Babylon, to differentiate it from other dynasties that later ruled Babylon. Modern historians often refer to this dynasty as the first dynasty of Babylon. Some historians refer to this dynasty as the Amorite dynasty on account of the kings being of Amorite descent. So if we go to the first dynasty of Babylon and we research the actual king line list, the cylinder seals of Nabonidus, we find something very interesting here. A lot of times when scholars or researchers, they speak, or historians, they speak of the first dynasty of the king line list of Babylon, they always tell you about Hammurabi. But if we go to the very first king of that dynasty, of the first dynasty of Babylon, we find an interesting name here. Sumu Abum. Sumu Abum. Now, words reveal and conceal, like I've said in a lot of the shows that I've done in the past. And if you look at this name, and you break the very first word down, Sumu, and you separate it down the middle, you have the name of Mu. We have the name Mu right here. Okay, the land of Mu. Well, here we have Sumu or Sumare, Sumu. And then the second word is Abum. So if we get rid of the B and we add a T, we have Sumu Atum. Atum. Now, am I saying that this is Adam or this is the actual king of Egypt? No, I'm not saying that whatsoever, because the timeline that we've been given doesn't match up. And I didn't go crazy looking up the actual dates and the time periods of this, but like I said, words always reveal and conceal. And if you go through the king line list here, a lot of the very same sequence of letters that attach themselves to our father Adam are in a lot of these names. We have Sumu La El, or El Al El El. It's another way of saying El. Sumu. So we have Atum El, so on and so forth as you go through the king line list here. So let's go to the next slide. Who is Sumu Abum? Sumu Abum was an Amorite. I have to pause here. Now, your Bible tells you the Amorites were supposed enemies of Israel, and I find that a bit ridiculous. And I will touch on that later in the series, but continuing, it says, and the first king of the first dynasty of Babylon, the Amorite dynasty, he reigned from 1897 to 1883 BC. He freed a small area of land previously ruled by the fellow Amorite city-state name of Kazulu, which included Babylon, then a minor administrative center in southern Mesopotamia. The Amorite succeeding makes no claims to be the king of Babylon, suggesting that the town was at this time still of little importance. He is known to have become the king of Kesura. An alternative view is that Sumu Abum, controlling Kesura, was actually a ruler in the 6th dynasty of Uruk. So continuing, he said he controlled the city of Delbat, 25 kilometers south Babylon, recording the building of its city wall in his 9th year of rule. In his 3rd year of rule, he claimed to have conquered the city of Alep, a major city of Mana, of the Mana dynasty. Wow, I find these words very interesting. Here we have Adam's name, an acronym again. We have Aman, Amun, right here in your face. And his name is all over the world. Like I've said, I'm not going to get into that too deep. But if you've watched any of the shows, you get the gist of it. So it says, by year 10 of his reign, Sumu Abum, or Atum, had gained control of Kish, 12 kilometers east of Babylon, which had been controlled by the Manu dynasty for some time. It was then briefly lost to Larsa, but recovered by Sumu Abum in his 13th reigning year. While Kish was no longer a powerful city, it maintained its outsized symbolic importance. So let's go to the next slide. Who did the Amorites pray to? Who was their god? Since they're often demonized, these so-called Amorites, who was their god? And I found this very interesting. The Amorites primarily worshipped the god Amaru, also known as Martu in Sumerian. He was a god associated with the western lands and the nomadic people who came to be known as Amorites. While Amaru was their main deity, the Amorites also recognized other gods, including Dagon, Baal, and Ashtaroth. So the Amorites primarily worshiped the god known as Amuru or Martu. Very interesting. And if you've watched any of the shows, you know on this channel that I love unscrambling these esoteric words, these anagrams with hidden meaning. And in my opinion, and I think I've proven this through my studies, that these are esoteric hidden meanings to hide the god Amuru Martu right here. And if you look at this Amaru with gold skin, or the skin of the wheat of the field through the white waters, he has blue eyes. He is a white man. And this was the god the Amorites prayed to. So, once again, in another civilization, I have found another group of white race Aryans that prayed to Adam. So, let's go to the next slide. What is the esoteric meaning of the name Amorite? And I'm going to return back to the previous slide and we're going to break down the other gods, the supposed pagan gods that they pray to. So it's pretty straightforward. If you look at the name Amorite and you get rid of ite, and ite literally means belonging to a tribe or son of, and we are a patriarch, a patriarchal reckoning of the white race. We're not a matriarch. Our divine light comes through our Father. And here in the very name Amor is Amun Ra. Right to left is Ro, as in Roman. We have Ra. You add a U, and we have a U and an N, and we have Amun, two letters of an incomplete word, but the same exact sequence over and over again. And we have the word Amun Ra, Adamites, hidden in plain sight, an esoteric hidden meaning. So that said, let's go to the next slide. What is the esoteric meaning of Amuru and Martu? Well, you look at the word and we're going to break it down. Amuru, it's A-M-U, and you add an N. We have Amun Ru, another way in the Proto-Indo-European or Aryan language of saying Ra, the sun. So Amun Ra, children of the sun. And here they do the same exact slick trick on you. He was also known as Martu. Martu is right in your face. You unscramble it and you follow the arrows. Here it is right in your face. A-T-U-M, Atum. Go next level, Atum Ra. And they have literally hidden Adam's name. And like the ancient texts say, the world was made for Adam, and his name is hidden in this anagram, this esoteric hidden anagram, and his name is all over the world. It never, never stops. Anytime I start to research something and I look at the names and I trace back where these names come from, I get the same exact sequence of letters. One time maybe it's a coincidence, two times possibly, but what is this now? 100 different versions or derivations of the same sequence of letters hidden in plain sight right before your very eyes. And we're going to go to other gods that were worshipped by these sons of light, the Amorites, the sons of Adam. And they tell you, oh, Dagon. And the Bible tells you, oh, these guys they were the devil. But these are all derivations of the same exact name. If you unscramble this word, A-D-A-N, we have Adon, and then we have the G, which is Gouda, Adon, Gouda, and it also has a meaning in the Phoenician Paleo-Hebrew. You can look that up yourself. And we have Baal. Oh my God, Baal is the devil. No, Baal, like I've said 100 times, is nothing but a title. And Ashtoreth is nothing but a different derivation of the name Eve. So it was Adam and Eve worship hidden in plain sight. So this name Ashtoreth and Dagon and Baal, like I said, Baal is a title and you have to have a name after it to identify who this Lord or master was. So this would be Baal Amuru which is none other than Baal Hadad or Baal Adad Adam, Baal Adrael, and that's who this statue is. So that said, let's go to the next slide. Sons of Light, Albert Pike, Morals and Dogma. So I've got two new books in my library that I received this week. I got literally two different variants of the book called Morals and Dogma. It cost me a pretty penny, but I found an esoteric version of it. And it was, I think, from the year, was it 1899 or 1900? And then I bought another one, 1949 version of it. And I do this a lot in my studies. I'll buy two, sometimes three different versions of a certain book from different time periods, and I put them side by side to see if there's any variations or alterations of the book. And a lot of times there are, and I haven't gone through the book all the way because I'm into other books right now that I'm researching. So let's look into some of the writings from Albert Pike and see what he had to say about the children of light. Okay, so we're going to start on the right first. It says, he's speaking of Jesus Christ. He says, from this came the word, and thence creation and generation, genetics, and thence a race of men, misleading, of Adamic men, children of light, who adored heaven and its stars as the supreme beings. He's speaking very, very esoteric knowledge here, hidden. Even in his own book, he's telling you something with a very deep meaning. So continuing, he says, and whose different gods were but incarnations of the sun, the moon, the stars, and the ether. This is mind-blowing. Let's decipher what Albert Pike is telling you. So if we read this, we're going to do something different. We are going to start at the bottom and we're going to read from right to left. And as we do this, I'm going to decipher what Albert Pike is telling you. He says the ether. The ether is none other than the waters of creation into third density, the third dimension of the matrix. So through the ether, the stars and their light projection through the moon and the sun, through Eve, the feminine, and the masculine, are incarnations of different gods from the supreme being, as above, so below. The stars of heaven are adorned with the El of the light, children of light, El Rais, Israel, Adrael, and they became a race of Amun kind on the earth through the genetics of the creation of the Word, Jesus Christ, our Father. This is mind-blowing, next level. When I saw this, I could not believe this guy, Albert Pike, is telling you this, and he's been demonized by the rabbi, in my opinion. I have not found that anywhere, but anytime you see a mistranslation or a lie, your Bible tells you beware of the lying pen of the scribe and the fables of the you-know-whos. So let's get into this verse right here that he said in Morals and Dogma, where they say he's a devil worshiper because he used this name Lucifer. And in your King James Bible, it's only there one time. But anyways, let's delve into this. He says, Lucifer, the light bearer, strange and mysterious name to give to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, the son of the morning. Is it he who bears the light, and with its splendors intolerable blinds, feeble, sensual, or selfish souls? Doubt it not. What is he really telling you? So I'm going to give you the esoteric meaning and break this down. So he's telling you, he says right here, Lucifer. Okay, we know that's a translated word. That's a title. And it was actually never translated from the Latin to the English, supposedly from Ben Shakar or Hillel ben Shakar. It means Lucifer and he's a fallen king. And no, it's not, it's allegory. No, no, it's Satan. This to me is a rabbinic lie, a satanic lie to hide the fact that this Lucifer is none other than Adam, the king of the world. And they do not want you to know, as I've said in the past, that you are the children of light. So, what is he telling you here? He's saying, put it back in its original form, Adrael, the light bearer. What does that mean? We've got to go word by word and break this down. If all the children of Israel, Israel, El Ra'is, they were all light bearers. And when you see the name El, El is the light, the Shekinah glory, the light of their Father given to them. They are the children of the sun. They bear the light. I showed in the past a picture of myself, but God allowed me to see a certain white light coming out of my body. The picture freaked me out when I first saw it. I couldn't believe it. And what does that mean? That means that I am a bearer of the light, as all of you are who are of our people, of our race, of our genetics. You are bearers of the light of El. So if you use this Latin term, all the white race children, the sons of light, Israel, the children of Adrael, would be a Lucifer. You'd be sons of Lucifer. But this name has been demonized by demons themselves, and that's why they never translated this word. They do not want you to know that your father, Adam, was the son of God, Luke 3:38, and you are the offspring and the bearers of his white water light, of he who sits upon the great white throne. And Albert Pike knew this. He was an expert on this. When I saw this 20 years ago, my Judeo-Christian programming kicked in, and I instantly thought, oh my God, this is the devil. And it took me quite a long time and many years of study to find out who this actually was, with God's blessing, of course. Thank you, Father Jesus. But he showed it to me, and I'm sharing it with you. So let's continue. He says, he's telling you, Adrael, the light bearer, strange and mysterious name, to give to the spirit of darkness. Well, who's the spirit of darkness? Let's go to the books of Adam and Eve. So what does the book of Adam and Eve say about who this spirit of darkness is? And I've read this before, but to internalize this and to get a 60,000 foot view or understanding of what the deception that you're dealing with, you have to hear this and make the connection. So it says, Adam sees the devil in his true colors. Then God ordered Satan to show himself to Adam plainly in his hideous form. But when Adam saw him, he feared and trembled at the sight of him. And God said to Adam, look at this devil in his hideous look, and know that it is he who made you fall from brightness into darkness, from peace and rest into toil and misery. And look, O Adam, at him who said of himself that he is God. Can God be black? So God is telling Adam right here that the spirit of darkness, that means Satan, not Lucifer, Satan. And people say that means the adversary. Yeah, that means the adversary. And people will tell you on the internet, well, God called Peter Satan, so that just means it's adversary. Jim Carrey did that in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective and told the landlord, yes, Satan? Does that mean that the landlord in the TV movie comedy was Satan? No, you use that name on someone when they're evil. I've done that many a times. When someone's an evil son of a bitch, I call him Satan. So it's literally a title that you use that had its origins from an individual. Yes, he was an adversary, but Satan was a real individual. His name in the heavens was Satnael, Samael. And I found that in countless writings. So to literally say that Satan doesn't exist, it's a meaning and it means adversary. That is a low caste, low level interpretation. And that is literally the oldest trick that Satan has used is to convince people that he does not exist. That said, let's continue. It says, mysterious name to give to the spirit of darkness. So the spirit of darkness is none other than Satan. When he fell from the heaven, his L was taken and he was cast down and he was put into a black body. So his spiritual genetic code was downloaded into a black crystal. I'm going to touch on that in this series in the future, but it was downloaded into a black crystal and he wore this darkness, and that was his prison suit, his flesh body. So Pike is telling you this is a strange name to call the light bearer, the son of God, Adam. You're going to call him the spirit of darkness. He says Lucifer is the son of the morning. Revelation 22:16, Jesus says, I am the bright and morning star. And Lucifer is the son of the bright and morning star, Jesus the Christ. Is it he who bears the light? So is the son of the morning, is it he that bears the light, the son of God, and with its splendors and intolerable blinds, feeble, we'll add the word the, blinds the feeble. Or what does that mean? He's telling you the feeble, weak-minded. I am not saying this in a negative way towards anyone. The purpose of my show is not to degrade or denigrate anyone or to call names, but I'm simply explaining what Albert Pike is telling you. He's telling you that this light, this heavenly wisdom and knowledge of who you are, where you come from, what your purpose is, who the creator is, who his children, who is the wheat hidden in the field, this hidden knowledge, he calls it the light. And it is also, like I said, the Shekinah glory, the light of El that is embodied inside this flesh body. The light of God in this flesh body. And it is a pure white or blue light. I've said that in the past. And Pike is telling you right here, and with its splendors, intolerable, blinds the feeble-minded. So the feeble-minded are those who are stuck in the Judeo-Christian church and they've been given a certain dogma. They're trained with it. It's programmed into their mind at a young age, and they can never spiritually, intellectually reach for the stars. What do I mean by that? You're reaching back into the heavens in your mind, and you're trying to remember a hidden past. You come to the earth, and God wipes your memory. So continuing, it says, blinds the feeble-minded, sensual, or selfish souls. In other words, you read the Bible, you read 66 books, and that means you know everything. And that, in other words, your mind is closed to other alternatives. And I'm not trying to, like I said, I'm not trying to evangelize you. I'm telling you that there are other books out there that expand upon the meaning of God's word. And the Bible itself has been translated hundreds of times, and we do not have the original text. And that is why I read the other text to give meaning, because as Jesus told you, they have hidden the keys of wisdom and knowledge from you. And my opinion is that the rabbis have come in, they've stolen these ancient stories, they destroyed the original copies and rewrote this Bible that we have, writing themselves in the books and claiming it as their own. Adrael, the light bearer, the Son of God. strange and mysterious name to give to the spirit of darkness. Satan, the black Satan. Adrael, the son of Jesus Christ. Adam, the son of Jesus, the son of God. Is it he who bears the white waters, genetics of pure white light energy, and with its splendors and intolerable blinds the feeble minded, sensual, or selfish souls? Doubt it not. That is exactly what it means. To give a brief summary, that's exactly what Pike is telling you. And is it possible that Pike was a devil worshiper? I haven't seen evidence of that. I think Albert Pike was a genius. And it's funny, a lot of people will criticize someone who knows more than them. And I always found that ironic. I mean, you may, and you don't do this in arrogance, but you may know more about a subject than anybody, and you always have an armchair quarterback that tries to correct you and knows probably a tenth of what you know. And you don't use knowledge, like I said, to elevate yourself, because God gives things and takes them away. And you treat your brethren with love and kindness, and you extend your hand. If they're on a lower rung than you intellectually, you extend that hand and you try to raise them up. And if they reject what you say, like Jesus said, you kick off the dust on your shoes and you move on. So that said, let's go to the next slide. We're going to go to the Bible and we're going to go through some of the parables that Jesus spoke of. And I'm going to give you the esoteric meaning of, of these parables and how they've been hidden by Judeo-Christianity. So let's start in Matthew chapter 18, the parable of the lost sheep. We're going to start off on verse 11. It says, "For the Son of Man," which should read the son of Adam, "for the Son of Adam is come to save that which was lost. How think ye, if a man have 100 sheep, and one of them be gone astray, doth he not leave the 99 and goeth into the mountains, and seeketh that which is gone astray? And if so be that he find it, verily I say unto you, he rejoices more than that sheep than of the 99 which went not astray. Even so, it is not the will of the Father, of I the Father, of your Father, which is in heaven, that one of these little ones should perish." Now, I'm not going to give you the Judeo-Christian meaning of the parable. Anyone who goes to church is well aware of this parable. I'm just going to delve into the esoteric meaning of it. So Luke chapter 15, 4 through 7 in the Wycliffe. "What man of you that has 100 sheep, and if he loses one of them, whether he leaveth not the 99 in the desert? And if he shall lose one of them, whether he leave not the 99 in the desert, and goeth to it that perish till he find it? And when he hath found it, he rejoices and layeth it on his shoulders. And when he hath found it, he joying putteth it on his shoulder. And he cometh home and calleth together his friends and neighbors, and saith to them, Be ye glad with me, for I have found my sheep that had perished. And I say to you, so joy shall be in heaven on one sinful man, Adam, doing penance, more than the 99 just that have no need of or to penance." So I find these two parables very interesting. Obviously, it's the same parable, just from different books, one the King James and one in the Wycliffe. We're going to look for the esoteric meaning of this parable that Jesus is talking about. So from reading the other text, the hidden text, we know that Jesus did not come to the earth to save all the people in the world. His mission, he came to the earth to save his sons and daughters, his children of the El, who came forth from the white lights, who came from the heavens down into the earth. And he came for his sons and daughters that were under the jurisdiction of Satan and Beelzebub in the pit of hell. That was Adam's punishment. And through Adam's sin, all the sons of Adam were punished until the first covenant was fulfilled. So the first clue we have here, he uses a sheep to describe his son. So what color's a sheep? The ram. And behold, a bull, a ram came forth from the earth. And that ram, or or that bull was white. And from that bull came forth a heifer. Eve, Adam, Eve. And that's what he's speaking of here. And from her came forth two calves, one black, the other red, and the black one killed the red one. Enoch's dream vision, Cain and Abel. But Enoch's dream vision does not tell you that the father of the black one was the black spirit of darkness, Satan, the black Satan. It does not tell you that. I wonder why. That's why you had all these books that were kept out of all the different councils, Trent, Rome, Nicaea, and they're the ones that give you the meanings of all the Bible verses. And those literal meanings or dogmas have been passed down through the centuries, and our people still believe the same exact thing that has been taught by the Catholic Church or Judeo-Christian Church for centuries, and we never progress. It's like we've hit the wall, the proverbial intellectual, spiritually intellectual wall, and we've never progressed. And that's why I do these shows. I want our people to ascend. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. That is so true. So many levels that is true. So that said, he's telling you that what Jesus is actually saying here, that he came down to fulfill the first covenant. And he said, even so, it is not the will of your Father, which is in heaven, that one of these little ones should perish. So who are these other sheep that he's speaking of? These other sheep are the council of the elves. These are the angels, the stars above in the heaven. If you can count the stars in the heavens or the grains of sand on the seashore, that's how many your offspring will be, and kings will come of their loins. Blah, blah, blah. This is what Jesus is talking about. Jesus came down, and a lot of his parables, he's telling his sons and daughters in parables because it wasn't for everyone. It was only for the learned amongst them who had this ancient knowledge, as the Magian kings understood this, and it was passed down from father to son, that the Father of heaven would send a ray of his light and take the flesh and come down and save this little one, Ad Rael, who fell, and fulfill the first covenant. Adam in 5.5 days. I will come down and the Jews will kill me. They will crucify me upon the skull of Golgotha. And this is what he's talking about. The church never tells you this. They've hidden this from you. They've hidden your identity and attached it to those who call themselves Judah, but do lie. Let's go to our Anglo-Saxon brethren of the past. In my collection, I have the first four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, in Anglo-Saxon. And I have the book, the Anglo-Saxon Gothic translations. But I painstakingly went through this. This is Matthew 18, and I compared it to the King James, and I went word for word, and I looked up each one of these names. Forgive me, I'm going to murder this, but I'm just going to start here. It says, and if it so be that he find it, and gift hempt, gelemp, deet, he, het, fent, sophelis, ek, iau, segreg, that was horrible, deet, he, swidor, blah, 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 for dam anum. And then here we go down. De na ne los idan. Very interesting. The Dam, Anum, Idan. And when you go to the King James Francis Bacon version or Masoretic text version, rabbinical version, it says nothing about this name here. So I had to go all the way back to the Anglo-Saxon Gothic translation, and I have books from the New Testament and the Old Testament in these languages. But it takes hours to look each one of these words up, and it is sometimes a nightmare to do this and very time consuming. But I know what this parable means, and I just needed proof, and lo and behold, bam, I found it. So let's go to the next slide and decipher Dam Anun Idan. Dam in Hebrew. The word Dam means blood, Adam, to show blood in the face. It is related to Adam, breath, spirit, Adam, ground, and Adam, humanity, Amun, kind. So we go down here and it says Anum, on. So here we have the first two letters, like I said, of an incomplete word. So what did they do here? They finished the anagram, and it means Anum, Atum, refers to a long preserved Mesopotamian god list focused on the relationship between deities, Anum. It says in Old English, the phrase Dam Anum likely refers to the phrase Dam Anum from the context of biblical interpretation or religious text, rather than a common linguistic phrase. The search result indicates that Dam can relate to the Hebrew word for blood, Dam, and Anum could potentially, not potentially, it's 100% the meaning, can be related to the Hebrew word human. Like I said, human is nothing but an anagram scramble. A-M-U-N, Amun, Anum reversed. Same word, Adam kind. So the Hebrew word for human, Amun being, Adam kind, depending on the context in which it is used. So if we go back here in the Anglo-Saxon gospel, the meaning of the parable of the lost sheep that Jesus was speaking of is right here. Rejoices more of that sheep. Well, in the original, it doesn't say that. And it tells you exactly who the white sheep is. And it is none other than Adam, A-D-A-M, Adam, Anum, in the Garden of Eden. That's exactly what it means, hidden in plain sight. The true meaning is lost in the translation. When we go back to our Anglo-Saxon brethren, they tell you exactly who this white sheep is, right in your face. So let's go to the next slide. Who is the son of the morning? Now, to me, this is a gimme. Anyone that puts this together, and I'm just presenting it to you, you be the judge. But let's go back to Isaiah 14:12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? So we've already deciphered who Lucifer was and that it is nothing but a title. So let's go to Revelation 22:16. I, Jesus, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David, and the bright and morning star. So the morning star himself is Jesus Christ. So if we decipher what Jesus is saying here, he always uses this term, I am, which if you go to fragment 4Q120, which is housed in the Rockefeller Museum, we have the IAW, which I said is nothing but a word scramble. You flip this and it has dual meanings. It's Isus Alpha omega, lowercase omega in the Greek, and you flip it and separate it, and you have I am. Isus, Alpha, Messiah, Isus, Alpha, Omega. So now we attach it to Luke 3:38. So we have here, Jesus is telling you that he is the morning star. And then that this Lucifer individual, he is the son, not S-U-N, but he's the son, the offspring of the morning star. That's exactly what that means. And now we connect, well, who is the son of this morning Jesus? And he tells you right here, which was the son, we go to Luke 3:38, which was the son of Enos, which was the son of Seth, which was the son of Adam, and Adam, which was the son of God, or Adam was the son of the morning, the bright and morning star. Isus, Alpha, Messiah, Isus, Alpha, Omega. Right in your face, hidden there the whole time in the Bible. If you can sequence this and put it in its correct pattern, it's right in your face. It's right there. So let's go to the next slide. So this is going to be a little long-winded, but we're going to go through the prodigal son, and we're going to decipher and give the esoteric meaning of who this prodigal son is that at the beginning of the show Jesus was speaking of. So he says, I say unto you that likewise joy shall be in heaven over one sinner that repenteth, more than over the 99 persons or the 99 angels which need no repentance. Remember what Jesus said. The Son told him, I have never sinned and have always obeyed you, Father, but you have not killed the fatted calf for me. Very interesting that he says that. Either what woman having 10 pieces of silver, if she loses one piece, does not light a candle and sweep the house and seek diligently till she find it? And when she has found it, she calls her friends and her neighbors together, saying, Rejoice with me, for I have found the piece which I had lost. Likewise, I say unto you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of God over the one sinner that repenteth. So the church obviously has their own dogma that they teach as an example for God's sons to live by, which is noble. But I believe that the actual root and the deep meaning, the esoteric meaning of this one that he's talking about are the angels that are cheering and giving praise to Adam, the one that sinned and ate of the tree of good and evil. And this is who Jesus is speaking of. When he came to the earth, he was on a mission to save his sons, like I said earlier, that were under the hand of Satan and Beelzebub in the pit. The church does not teach this. They've hidden it from you. And Jesus, over and over and over in the parables, keeps giving you the meaning. He says, this is for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. So I'm not going to read the whole parable, but I'm going to go over certain parts of it that Jesus spoke of in the beginning of the show. So we go right here, and he tells him the son goes to the father, and he says, give me my portion. And he divided his living many days the younger. Okay, so he journeyed to a far country. So the far country that he's speaking of, in my opinion, the esoteric meaning, the far country that he went to was the earth. And the earth was made for Adam, and God put a crown on his head and gave him the scepter of power. And all the angels bowed to Adam, and Adam was the ruler. So this is what this is speaking of. The far journey, the country that he's speaking of are dimensional barriers from the heavens down to the earth. And it says, and there he wasted his substance with riotous living. The substance they're speaking of is his heavenly white waters genetics, and he mixed it with riotous living. In other words, he became a whoremonger, and he mixed the tree of life, the tree of good, the tree of light, which was in him, the genetics. And Noah was pure in his genetics and mixed his DNA with the sons and daughters of darkness. If you lay with me, Eve, I will give you the world. You will be a god. And that's exactly what Jesus is telling you here. It says, and when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in the land. So he fell and he began to be in want. So this is speaking of his fall. So we go to the next one. And he said unto the Father, I have sinned against heaven and in thy sight. Well, if it's just monetary gain and the Father gave him monetary, like money, jewels, riches, and I guess in his time would be cattle or sheep, how would that be a sin against heaven? And why would the angels celebrate for this one sinner? This is a hidden esoteric meaning that Jesus is speaking of. And he said, and in thy sight, I am not worthy to be called thy son. You can attach this parable with the books of Adam and Eve, and you'll gain a great understanding if you connect all the parables. The books of Adam and Eve literally give the meaning if you have eyes to see and ears to hear. So it says, but the Father said to his servants, the other angels, bring forth the best robe, put it on him, and put a ring on his hand, shoes on his feet, and bring hither the fatted calf, and kill it, and let's eat and be merry. For this my son was dead, and is alive again. He was lost, and is found. And they began to be merry. What does this mean? How was his son dead if he took the money or the riches that his father gave him and he wasted them, and then that became a sin against heaven? No, this goes back to the Garden of Eden, where he told him, if you mix thy seed and you eat of the tree of darkness, of evil, and you mix your genetics, you will surely die. And the feminine part of Adam, she who came from Adam, Eve, did exactly that, and so did Adam, and broke God's command and mixed and created an unassimilatable group of triple S people on the earth that we still are dealing with to this very day, who want our literal destruction. But I'm not going to get into that too deep. But he tells him, my son was dead. So here we go, the connection with the Garden of Eden, and is alive again. So how did he become alive again? Because Jesus told him in 5.5 days, I will come down in the flesh through thy seed. The Son becomes the Father, and the Father becomes the Son, and I will save thee in thy righteous seed. He was lost. He was in the pit of hell, and Jesus smashed the door down, and now he is found. And they began to be merry. Now his elder son was in the field. Who was the elder son? Could this be Michael? Very possible. Very, very well could be. That's how I read this. Now, obviously, the Father has other angels under him that are Els, the elder son. Well, that's kind of interesting when you look at this name, El and Ra and the Son. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. Could be. So continuing, he says, and he called the servants and asked what these things meant. He said to him, thy brother is come, and thy father hath killed the fatted calf, because he hath received him safe and sound. So the covenant was fulfilled. Jesus came to the earth, and the Jews crucified him. A sect of fallen angels under Satan's command crucified him, and they killed an innocent man, and God switched the roles on him, prisoner swapped him, put Satan in the pit, and freed his sons. Anyone who hasn't read this book, go and find the book, The Gospels of Nicodemus, The Harrowing of Hell. It is an incredible story and gives you great depth and detail and insight to what these parables really mean. So it says, and he was angry. The brother was angry. The other angel was angry and would not go in. Therefore came out his father and entreated him. And he answered to his father, lo, these many years I do serve thee. Neither transgressed I at any time thy commandment. And yet thou never gavest me a kid, that I might be merry with my friends. But as soon as thy son was come, which hath devoured thy living with harlots thou hast killed for him the fatted calf. So, whoa, whoa, whoa. So we have something very, very interesting here. I thought that he sinned against God from spending all of his inheritance. It's low level metaphor. So now this angel, this other angel, is telling the father that the younger El devoured thy living. What does that mean? He mixed his holy genetics with whores, harlots, demon black harlots of Satan. That's exactly what he's telling you. That was the very first command. Do not mix thy seed with the sons and daughters of Cain. Adam, do not mix thy seed with lower caste angels. And that is exactly what Adam and Eve did. And the brother is telling him, and it's hidden in the prodigal son right here, that Adam, he fell, his fall was from mixing his genetics with harlots. And the father said to him, Son, you are forever with me, and all that I have is yours. It was right that we should be merry and be glad, for this thy brother was dead. O Adam, if you eat of the tree, you will surely die. The tree, the black tree. Do not mix the white water genetics with the black water genetics, a lower caste of angels. It is forbidden. Do not do it because Adam was of the Father. You cannot mix the Creator with a lower caste creation. In his law, that is forbidden. And he says, and he was dead and alive and was lost and is found. He was dead because he mixed his genetics with harlots. The meaning is right there hidden in plain sight. Okay, so who was the prodigal son? And is there anything that has ever been written or hidden in the secret societies that prove what I've been putting forth, that this Lucifer is Adam? And this is only part 3 of the series. There's going to be a lot more evidence that I'm going to present in future shows. So part 3 is probably just midway through the series. But if we get into the prodigal son and we examine it, is there anything hidden in the secret societies and writings in the secret societies that prove my point on who the prodigal son is? And in my collection, I have a certain book from France, and it proves my point of exactly what I'm presenting in this dissertation. So that said, Lucifer's hidden identity. So it tells you, let me minimize the mug here. It tells you, according to the legend, the angel Lucifer was exiled from heaven because he wished to be like God. But God did not punish Lucifer lightly. Quite the contrary. He afforded Lucifer the experiences and sufferings necessary to see his wish fulfilled. When the light of fire inherent to the angelic nature of Lucifer fell into physical form, mankind arose. Now, this is very interesting. Pay attention. But down here, Lucifer was the guest of Satan, the adversary, who, baffled by such a visit, wished to detain such an honorable guest in his house for as long as he could. Hence, Satan proceeded to tempt Lucifer by means of sensory allurements. Only when Lucifer has defeated Satan's temptations, like Jesus did in the desert, shall he be able to return to his heavenly abode. And on that day, pay attention, having satisfied curiosity, he, Lucifer, will be known as the prodigal son. So let's decipher what this esoteric meaning in these secret societies actually are telling you. and I'm going to read it in its true form, and I'm going to get rid of Jerome's false, erroneous translation of Lucifer because it should never have been there in the first place. It is nothing but another title to hide the actual identity of the father of the white race, Adam, and him being the son of his father, his white father, Jesus Christ. There is no black Jesus. There's a black Satan. Am I saying that because I like or dislike anybody? No. I go where the evidence takes me. And in the future, I'm going to show you other sources where I have found the same thing, that Satan is black. And when God threw him out of heaven, he cast him down here, actually to hell first, but he is down in this dimension here on the earth and cast him into a black body. Satan is the Y chromosome progenitor of the melanated people of the earth. That's not my opinion. I found it in multiple sources and presented the evidence to you. You be the judge. You are the captains of your own ship. I am merely providing you the evidence. So let's decipher what this book is telling you. It says, according to legend, the angel, there was never an angel named Lucifer. So if you're an angel, like the word says right here, Anum Guda El, you have the light, the fiery nature. Light comes from fire of El. Emmanuel, you're a son of the Els. Emmanuel, that's what it means. And I've deciphered that name in the past on previous shows, and you're more than welcome to go there and find out the esoteric meanings of it. So, according to legend, the angel Adrael, Adam Rael, was exiled from heaven because he wished to be like God, because Satan propagandized him. And in the future, I'm going to bring evidence that correlates exactly with the books of Adam and Eve and other hidden texts and gives more detail to the fall of Adam and Eve and how Satan came into the garden in the first place. And that's going to be a project in the future. I'm not going to give any hints away on it, but I've been working on that behind the scenes for a while. I've been immersed in reading and research, and that's what I do. So that said, let's finish deciphering this. It says, but God did not punish Adam lightly. Quite the contrary, he afforded Adrael the experiences and suffering necessary to see his wish fulfilled. This correlates exactly with the books of Adam and Eve. So it says, when the light or fire, light comes from fire, inherent to the El's angelic nature of Adrael fell into physical form, Adam kind arose on the earth. But down here, Adrael, Adam, was the prisoner, not guest, prisoner of Satan. That's why Jesus came back in the first place, to free Adam and the righteous seed after 5,500 years. Who, baffled by such a visit, wasn't a visit, he was his prisoner, wished to detain, here you go, that's the key word, such an honorable guest, the Son of God, in his house in the pit of Sheol or hell for as long as he could. Hence, Satan proceeded to tempt Adrael, Adam Rael, by means of sensory allurements. Through, if you eat of the tree, mix your genetics with me, and you can be God. So the five I wills were repeated twice, and he was propagandized by this black demon. Adam was, and Adam did the same exact thing, and he would surely die. And that's exactly what Satan did, is he convinced Adam to eat of the tree, which is metaphor for mixing of his substance of riotous living, as the prodigal son tells you. Jesus told you what it meant. Well, he said in an allegory, he didn't actually tell you what it meant. But that said, only when Adam has defeated Satan's temptations. Remember this one part right here, this one sentence, because at the end of the series, I have found in another hidden text that literally says this word for word, and it is hidden in the secret societies. And I think you're going to be floored at the end of this series when you hear this. Just remember this part right here. Only when Adam has defeated Satan's temptations, like Jesus did in the desert, because Jesus was the second Adam and he came through Mary. Mary was the ark of salvation of the children of the righteous seed of the white waters, and she was known as the second Eve. Eve was the first entrance into the world of the gods to come from the heavens to the earth, those who came from above. Jesus was the second Adam, our father, coming through that line, and he came through the second Eve. Mary was known in the hidden text as the ark of salvation of the children of the great white waters of the white light of the heavens, those who came from above. So it says, so like Jesus defeated Satan in the desert, and Adam will be able to return to his heavenly abode after the covenant was fulfilled, and on that day, having satisfied the curiosity or his sin, he will be known as the prodigal son. So Lucifer is none other than the angel known as Adrael, hidden in the secret societies. So that said, let's go to the next slide. Go to Job 38. In your King James Bible, there are those that will tell you out there that, oh, the Bible, it hasn't been altered. Is God capable of keeping his own word? And that is a legit question. I've heard that quite a few times. And, I have a sister, she's asked me that 100 times. And I've had, other friends that have asked me that. And like I said, a legit question. And only through side by side comparisons will you see with your own eyes that the book has been altered. So if you go to Job 38, and I've brought this before, and you put this version, the 1611 King James, next to the Wycliffe 1382, it tells you right here something very interesting. God is talking to Job, and he tells him, "Can thou bring forth Mazaroth?" Who's Mazaroth? Can you bring forth Mazaroth in his season, or canst thou guide Arcturus with his sons? So here we have another anagram scramble, these two words right here, hiding the children of God, hiding Adam right before your very eyes. And then you go to Isaiah 14:12, and it tells you Lucifer. I'm not going to go through the whole verse again, but it's only in the King James once. But when we go to the Wycliffe, we find something very interesting here. It says, "Whether thou bringest forth Lucifer." Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on. Mazaroth? Lucifer? I thought God was able to keep his word. Well, of course he is. But you have free will, and he warned anyone who changed his writings that they would be punished. Well, the enemy has already been punished, and they've changed and altered the books. I've done that in the past. Carl and I did that on shows in the past that literally proved that these books have been destroyed and rewritten. And here is a perfect example right in your face. You can't explain this away. You are seeing the literal verses side by side. And if our people did this more, instead of armchair quarterbacking you, they would come to the same conclusion. Now, you look at this and it tells you, "Canst thou bring forth Mazaroth?" This is an esoteric hidden name right here, the double Z. You start in the middle, Z is the last letter, so it's Omega, Omega, Ra, Off, the Sepharth, the seven rays of the Father, the seven spheres of the heavens, Amun, Ra, Omega, first and second, the first Adam, the second, Omega, Alpha, and they hide it from you. The sons of Arc, can you guide Arcturus? Well, right here we have Ra, right to left, and then we have Taurus. Taurus is a hidden name for the constellation Taurus, the bull. And behold, a bull came forth from the earth, And that bull was white because he came through the white waters, Mazaroth. And they tell you in the Wycliffe 1382, whether thou bringest forth Lucifer, that is the day star. Whoa, 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 what? In his time, and makest the even star to rise on the sons of earth. Now let's go to plain English. Well, old style English, same verse. Whether thou bringest forth Lucifer, not Mazaroth, Francis Bacon. Okay. If you think your Bible doesn't have Rosicrucian, Masonic, hidden esoteric meanings in it, you've been living under a rock. And I'm not saying that to be mean to anyone or to offend anyone, but that is the honest to God truth. And I'm showing you here, I'm giving you a small, brief example of how they've done it. And only through side by side comparisons and doing a hardcore word study and history of who these translators were will you come to this understanding. So that said, let's continue. It says, whether thou bringest forth Lucifer, that is the day star in his time, and makest the even star to rise upon the sons of earth. So let's go to the next slide. And I'm going to minimize the mug here, going a little bit past what I wanted to, but this is very important. What is the morning and evening star? What is the esoteric meaning of morning and evening star? Hidden in the word right before your very eyes. You separate the word, and it was morn before anglicized in our modern vernacular. It was morn, the morn star. You can look it up. And if you add, like I said, one letter of an incomplete word with an overall greater meaning hidden in the word, for those with eyes to see and ears to hear, it tells you M represents Amun. You add an A and a U, and you have Amun, A-M-U-N. You add the N right there. You drop the N, Amun. And then here we have Ro of the Romans again, okay? And it equals Ra. Amun Ra, morning, Amun Ra, Adam. Now we have the even star, the evening, get rid of the ing, and right in your face, E-V-E. This is Venus and Jupiter, Optimus Maximus Heliopolitanus, right in your face. So the evening star would be the lesser light, and the son of the morning would be the greater light who received the light of Jesus Christ, the white Father who sits upon the great white throne, the white light emanation of our Father into his sons, the El given to the children of Adrael, right in your face. Adam and Eve, the son of the morning star. Jupiter equals sunrise, morning, AM. Here we have AM, the morning rising, the sun rising. You add the UN, and we have Amun. So this is where your AM comes from, and Venus, the sunset, Eve star, Venus, and Venus equals sunset. The Eve star, Venus, sunset equals Eve. So the two are one. They came, Eve, she who came from Adam. And this has been hidden from you for centuries. And I'm exposing it to you. Praise Jesus Christ, our Father. Thank you, Father. Let's back up one more time and go through Job 38 with a side-by-side comparison. So here we have it again. Lucifer is none other than Adrael, Adam, the son of God, Mazaroth, Ra, Taurus, and this is the sunrise and sunset hidden in plain sight through the esoteric hidden knowledge in the secret societies has been hidden from. That is going to end the show for tonight. I want to give a shout out to everyone who supports me, all my friends, my good friend Jackie who watches the show, LA Law Girl, all my family members that watch it, my sister Vicky, and all my loved ones, and all other people that support my work. May Jesus bless each and every one of you in your endeavors, and stay tuned for part 4. It'll be coming in about a month. This is a lot of work, and I'm going to end it on that. God bless and good night.